This is what it How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Good to see you. I'm strong.
Okay, good morning. I will declare a quorum and call the meeting to order. We've got a pretty lengthy agenda this morning, so we'll get started. First, we'll start out with item number 2 is our prayer. And Craig, come on up.
Good to be here, Judge.
Well, we're glad to have you back, sir. We always love that accent. I'm sure you get tired of hearing
I
that.
hope that you're getting better at understanding it. I was driving over this morning and was just reminded that we've all been created in an incredible way in the image of a Father, God, that loves us and gave us the very best image on the inside of it. The 3 primary qualities that I just want to pray over you guys today are 3 primary qualities that we place on the inside of us: love, justice, wisdom, and power. And when we can blend those 4 things together, we can make decisions well, we can govern well, and we can lead well. So can I pray those things over this court today? Is that good? Father, we just thank you that you have given us the ability to love well, provide justice, wisdom, and power and strength where needed. And Father, over the proceedings in this meeting today, I pray that we'll be able to blend those qualities in harmony with how you created them to be. I pray that we'll be able to express ourselves according to those qualities. I pray that we are able to hear other people's comments and thoughts according to those qualities. And Father, I pray that the panel can make decisions based on those 3 qualities. So Father, stir up in us today the ability to love well, the ability to adjudicate justly, the ability to be wise in our decisions, and Father God, exert the necessary decisions where necessary in pure and wholesome godly power that you have bestowed upon this body and upon this room today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you for taking the time to come over this morning. We had to adjust our microphones for a court that was in here the other day. Can everyone hear us okay out there? Or is it too quiet?
It's kind of low.
Sometimes when we're full, we have to move different courts in, and they actually use this room for, and they have to adjust the volume. All right, so we'll try that. Item number 3 is recognition of special guests. We've got several of the elected officials here today, which is an item that I'm going to get to next. Item number 4 is citizens' comments. I don't have anyone signed up to speak. Does anyone in the audience want to speak to anything on the agenda? Okay, so then I will move to, let me go ahead and knock this one out, and I'm going to get to the JPs. Item number 5 is consideration approval of the agenda minutes for September 13th, 2021 meeting. That's usually fast and simple.
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion was made by Commissioner Kelton to approve the minutes as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Worley. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion passes. If we had a dime for every time we sign our names here, we could all retire. All right, so then I'm going to go down to, I don't want to keep the entire JPs waiting. With the highest respect, I go down to item number 8. D is in David, if you're following us, which is Justice Doug Hurt, JP1, Harold Hogan, JP2, Brian Thompson, JP3, and Ted Perez, our JP4, all of them. Would like consideration and possible approval of action regarding employee changes and employee salaries within their office. Doug, the floor is yours when you're ready.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you guys letting us take care of this because of appointments. But because we have had personnel changes in the Justice of Peace office, the judges, all 4 of us, request I called it an amendment to the budget. I don't think it's really amending a budget. We're just shifting titles and money in the budget around. There is no increase to the budget. We're asking and requesting that Mia Stroop's salary as senior court administrator for the Justice of the Peace Precinct 1 and 2 be increased. It was scheduled to be $34,780. We'd ask to increase that to $36,328 because as the senior court administrator, she's going to be responsible for training Angela Dozier as a court administrator for Precinct 2 and 4. Also, she'll be the one primarily responsible for training when we hire a new person as our criminal administrator. So it's not increasing our budgets, it's just shifting money where it was going to one person, going to her, and then also with Angela Dozier, because she's being moved from the criminal court clerk to a court administrator, her salary being increased to reflect that change to $34,780. It was set to be $31,000, but that was for the criminal administrator. Also, it's requested the position of court clerk, which is currently vacant, be started at $28,000. This is really just shifting money within our budgets. I mean, it's already been budgeted for the new year. Because of personnel change, though, we felt like we needed to shift to reflect the different positions.
So ultimately, it's a wash. You're not asking.
It is a wash. Actually, since we're going to be the new hire, will be hired at a lower rate. It's going to be a decrease in our budget. Really, now it's going to be because of the way it's going to work. It's going to be kind of a shifting between the justices and our budgets, but absolutely no increase.
Looks like it's kind of in line with the other officers in the same position.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Did we already have some starting salary in place for that position?
Yeah.
And that number would be
This,
27.
27.
So 27 is a normal starting salary for the position of a clerk.
Does that include this year's?
I don't know if that includes this year. Does that include this
Yeah,
year?
that's still a starting salary.
Okay, so that needs to be 27.
Okay, and so the person who left at a salary of,
Would have been at the salary of 36.
the one that left at a salary of 36. How many years did they have?
13, 14, I don't know.
And was there was a step set for like assistant clerk? I mean, I can't remember. Do we have some steps set there already? I'm trying to remember
We have deputy, we have an amount for deputy clerks. I have to go get it, but I don't have it on top of my head.
Yeah,
Your assurances is this won't exceed what you've already been budgeted.
that's correct.
Right.
That's correct. We're not asking to exceed any budget, any money already budgeted.
I
This is simply
just-
shifting money around.
I just sometimes want to be careful because sometimes you open a can of worms when you start. When we set,
I
we set
understand.
positions, you set salaries, you set steps, and then they get jumped over sometimes. So I was trying to remember what we had established.
I'll make a motion to approve the personnel changes stipulating that the new hire comes in at the new hire salary.
Right at 27?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, then I'll make a motion to approve the justice's request.
second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve.
We're still trying to find something here.
We're gonna give them a minute to discuss. So further discussion.
I just concerned because we've done this before and I don't really agree with sometimes that you'll start somebody at somebody else's salary that's been there for quite a few years when you put them in there. And it's,
Well, I think it's an increase in responsibility, and he just assured us that the new hire that they bring in for this third position will start at the very base entry level pay. He assured us that.
Right.
That was in my motion, actually, which y'all were talking, I didn't mean to talk over you. Commissioner Shaw seconded, so we're in discussion now. So we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any further discussion on it?
What is the motion?
Just to approve the personnel changes they asked with the stipulation
that would be
that,
27.
The
the new hire starts at 27,000 whenever they select someone.
And part of the reason, let me go ahead and say that, part of the reason is we don't do that is because the biggest part of the budget is salaries.
Sure, I'm sure.
And then whenever we start handing out salaries to somebody they felt somebody else's place has been there quite a few years, that's sometimes we get a chance to recoup. So that's the reason I don't want to jump on the bandwagon, not saying they're not worth it, just like there have been reasons to establish those things in all the villages, and it continues to grow. So I don't know. I hadn't really had time to figure exactly where we're at on this, what they're supposed to be adding additional pay for the other duties, because sometimes we had, is that all right? Just to see where we're at. I'd like to have a few minutes.
Sure.
So we're gonna find out.
Why don't you just table it?
Well,
I have a motion on the floor. Can I table it?
Yeah, somebody can make a motion to table it and then just.
Okay, how about I do
Vote
this?
on it next Monday.
Oh, well,
with all respect, I mean,
No, I don't have a problem with you guys discussing.
well, if we can wait a few minutes, I'll come back to this item.
Sure,
while she goes-
absolutely,
she goes
absolutely.
and gets that. So while we're waiting, I tell you what, we have a motion on the floor, and I'm gonna leave it pending, but I'm gonna come back to this item. So item number 8A is an add-on, is Commissioner Kelton regarding consideration and possible approval regarding the action on the burn ban. We have some news on that, so.
well, I know that we have some firewood, I'm sure. I'm not in favor of lifting it right now, but I think we have additional information we need to get out to the public. And now, I think, Daryl, would you mind addressing the public as the fire danger warning we had?
Come on up to the microphone.
Randy can probably elaborate on it a bit also. For this afternoon, a big part of the Central Texas, Northern Central Texas, as far as, and also the Dallas, Northeast Texas area are all under elevated fire watch for this afternoon. Expecting temperatures to be around 100 to 101, pretty low humidity, winds 10 to 15 and gusty. So the conditions are right, and you that have your land out, it's drying out pretty good, fields are getting dry. So it's basically good condition for fire ignitions. We've sent out to all the volunteer chiefs to kind of monitor and watch today. We did have a couple of house fires over the weekend. One Saturday on County Road 201. Was fully involved when we got there, and it spread the grass. They were able to catch it in time, but it was traveling pretty. So conditions are right. So,
What was that?
County Road 201,
When was it?
Saturday evening.
Okay.
Well, I know that it's really dry, and if it's fixing to get windy, it bears watching, sure does.
And the good news is we've got a cool front coming into Bar Ranges. It should be a short term.
So I'm hearing no action on lifting the burn ban.
Correct, and just, and we, like I said, let the public know of the increased danger for the next day or so. So no action.
Gary, you good with that? Right, so we'll take no action on item number 8A as an Adam. We'll go back to item number 8D as in David, which is, again, the request from the justices of the peace to make salary adjustmts. There's a motion and a second on the floor for this, but we are in discussion, so whatever discussion we need to have.
I couldn't hear you very good, so if you don't mind pulling the microphone, so.
What exactly did you want to know?
So, starting clerk is 27, and then there are like a chief deputy clerk has a $2,500 bonus. So how are you classifying these? You have a senior court administrator.
Senior court administrator. She was scheduled to make 34,000. So basically, we're asking to increase her by about 1,600 because she's going from a court administrator to senior court administrator.
Above what she's already made.
And Dozier is scheduled to be 31, and that's going up a little bit first.
What she would be making October 1, right?
Right, October 1, right. Yeah, this is based on the new budget salaries. This is based on new budget salaries. Right, yeah, right, correct, yes, sir. Now, Angela Dozier's reflects more than a $1,600 increase. It's about 3,000 going from criminal clerk to a court administrator.
For me, as long as your bottom line doesn't increase, what you elected officials do and how you distribute your budgeted funds, in my opinion, that's best left up to you and the voters you work for, but we do have to keep a balanced budget.
Sure, I understand, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely.
Again, I have my motion on the floor, it's been seconded, is to approve it with the understanding that whoever they hire in that third spot starts at that very base pay. Please don't come in and ask us to start somebody higher.
No, I understand, I understand.
Well, just some order of order
Sure, sure.
is all I'm shooting for.
I should have done a little more research before I said that. So, right.
What we're here for. It's a big shift in y'all's office.
It's an adjustment right now.
Did they, have y'all, you've been up there, did they do your trim over the weekend? I'm sorry, while he's reading, I'm asking another question.
I didn't notice it, but
Before we do.
I haven't really looked up since I walked in. I've been busy trying to figure
Call
this out.
for the question.
Shaw's still reading.
He's still seconding the motion.
Okay, well, we're still reading, I'm sorry, still reading.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. Does anyone have any further discussion? All right, let's move this on. All in favor of approving the personnel change request from all four of the justices? In favor? Aye. So it passes unanimously. Those here.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like, Lisa, you want to come on up? Looks like next is item number 8B, and she'll also have item number 8C. Before you get into anything with C, let's do B first. Give you just your general update, and then I've got to read into the minutes, the next line item. Okay, Lisa? So first, we're going to have Lisa Dick, the administrator of the Brown County Health Department. She's going to provide us a COVID-19 response update, and I'll be honest with you, the figures this week are disheartening.
So we had 253 additional cases. There were 2 deaths, a female in her 70s and a male in his 80s, neither were from nursing facilities. We have 21 people that are hospitalized, and that is at the 17.53% hospitalization rate that was down from the previous week at 18.8. So of those cases, there were 15 that were breakthrough cases for the week. We have 896 newly vaccinated people. Of those receiving the first dose, we have 14,754. We have 39.08% that have received both doses.
What is your target goal for the county?
Well, I want it to be around probably 75 to 80%, which we are a long way from there, even at almost 900 doses for the week. It will still take us a substantial amount of time to
Where was
get
most of that done?
It's done various places. We do about between 25 and 50 a day at the health department. We did host a clinic, but we only had about 10 people show up to that clinic. And so we want other people coming in, as many as possible, but it's just a combined effort from all of the providers of vaccine, which will be Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, United, Jacobs Pharmacy. I'm probably missing some other pharmacies, and then a few office providers. So right now we're planning on opening a clinic that will be a combined testing clinic and treatment clinic with Hendrick Medical Center. And that prospective date is the 27th. We're working towards that goal. That would be able to provide testing opportunities to the community through health department staff at the Hendrick location. And then if they did test positive and met the criteria for needing treatment, then they would be able to step over and do the treatment pretty much immediately. Maybe a slight delay, but would cut out many of the peaks that we're working through now, which would be trying to find a physician to give a prescription, writing the prescription, making an appointment, registering, all of those things would be skipped, and we would be able to get that person registered in treatment almost immediately. Right now, it looks like several days out once they've been diagnosed.
May I ask a question? So I've been asked, so where all can you go to get tested if it's not a particular day? I mean, if somebody thinks I need to go tested, where do they go now? Where's their best option to get a test?
So right now, there is a COVID helpline that is ran by Hendrick. You can call that, you text it, COVID help to a number, and then they will respond back to you and direct you to a facility that is Hendrick operated to go to.
What is that number? I mean, it's just COVID help.
I don't have it
You don't
numbered.
have it.
I will.
So there is just a number, there is a number you can call that will direct you where to go.
And we direct a lot of people there,
You're asking about
To be tested.
tested.
But I had that question asked of me.
And then you can also go and get tested at a lot of the pharmacies.
Oh, the farm-
Yes,
some
and
of
Walgreens, I know for sure, provide testing. Other physician offices, Excel Health. But this would be, all of those things remain, but in addition to that, we would have our facility that would provide testing and connect you in with the treatment.
Are there fees for those other tests from the pharmacies?
Not that I'm aware of. Some of them will fall under insurance if you have insurance. So it was probably going to require a question whenever you call or make the appointment. You can also buy over-the-counter testing kits, but if you were seeking medical treatment, you would have to have an additional test after that.
Thank you.
And our death is 166 total.
The easiest place to get tested is your
Personal doctor.
your personal physician.
Yes, sir.
They were seem to think that their physician didn't do it, so I'm just saying.
Well,
I was just
there's
asking
some
a
that
question.
do and
So-
some that don't.
so-
So you,
That's fine.
I think that it's important for that point, that it is very important for us all to have physicians set up in advance before we're in a medical crisis. So anytime that we can go back to a doctor that knows our medical history, then you're gonna get better treatment. So, but we found in our community, and it's one of the things that we'll be addressing with grant funds for health equity, is that many in our community don't have a doctor that they see on a regular basis. And so then when there's a crisis, it's hard for them to get in and get quality care. And that's part of what's happening, is that whenever we have everyone that usually goes to a doctor, and their doctors have time for them, but then when we add all of these other people in trying to seek medical treatment, we cause problems in the wait times and in the availability of appointment and the availability of supplies when we add all of that extra factor in a huger volume. So that's part of what we will be working on as the health department as we move forward.
I know you're not responsible for this, but I urge you, please, please. I got my third call, as you know, this weekend saying that they get no answer at that COVID line, either by text or telephone. So can you please just look into that for us?
And that is the reason that we are having what we're doing with the new clinic would assist with that. Because bottom line is there just hasn't been the availability of testing opportunities. And so we're gonna add another testing opportunity. So all of those other places that we've said will remain, and then we'll get to add this to it, hopefully.
So any other questions for Lisa on the update? She has the next agenda item as well. Before I move on here, Joel.
No, thank you.
So there's no action on item number 8B. Item number 8C is in Charles, is also Lisa Dick, Administrator of the Brown County Health Department. She's asking for consideration and approval of more funding in the response to COVID-19 from the ART grant. I know you have a little presentation you'd like to make.
Sure.
I'm sure the commissioners are going to have some questions, so hang on.
So we have, y'all have heard part of it. So the plan would be for us to collaborate with Hendrick in the joint effort to have a clinic where you could go and you could get your testing completed, just as I described earlier. And then immediately you would have the opportunity to receive treatment if you were qualified for that. So it would be a more timely response to what we're seeing with all of our COVID positive patients, but there's not a lapse in time to receive that. So, and then in addition, it would help with what we're hearing and what Judge Lilly heard over the weekend, where you're trying to seek testing and it's not as readily available as we would like for it to be. And so.
I forgot that. So how long does it take to get the results of the test now? Are they pretty quick?
So, and there's some confusion on what tests are available and what that looks like. So basically, there are 3 tests that are available. There is a PCR test, which is kind of what we consider the gold standard when we're looking at the epidemiology world. So it tells you a definite yes or no if you have COVID. It's looking at genetic material that would show you have an active infection. And then there is an antigen test.
Stop right there.
Yes, sir.
How long does that first test take?
That first test, so that is kind of, depends on what type of PCR test you have. So, or where you're sending it. So you can send it off to a lab and it can take several days. The health department has PCR testing that returns in 15 minutes. So I think the conception, and that's what I'm trying to correct, is that there is a rapid test and that there is a test that takes longer, and the one that takes longer is more quality. And that is not accurate. So there's 3 types of tests, and most of them have 2 test opportunities. They can be a rapid or they can be more of a long-term test. So you have to look at both factors in that. And some of it's just where they're sending the sample to. It's the same type of test, it's just being sent to a different lab. And so the testing results are delayed because of that travel time to get the sample to where it's going to be tested.
So if you're talking about doing one where you do the test and the treatment, you're looking for more rapid test numbers.
We're looking at 2 rapid test opportunities. One would be the one that I've told you about, that's the PCR. But we can look at, if those are not available, we can also use antigen testing, which is not quite as accurate. We're looking for 2 things. We're looking for a positive result, and that you either have been exposed to COVID, that we got a direct exposure, or you have COVID symptoms. So that one is not quite as accurate, but it's up into the 90 percentiles. I'm sure Cliff will
So if they have the COVID symptoms, you go and do the treatment. If you haven't harmed anything, if they didn't have COVID. you may have-
Correct, but we do want a positive test before we do that, and that's part of the requirement.
I'm up with you, I think.
Okay, and so there is a 3rd test that we don't use very much, that's an antibody test. And it's really looking at, it could tell us 2 things. It could tell us you have an active case, or it could tell us that you have had COVID in the past and that you now have antibodies to fight off the infection. So mainly we use the PCR and the antigen to determine if you're positive or not. And then the rest of that, how quickly you get it back, is just where the testing is done and maybe the type of test.
So they have a generic treatment they already have planned out for those that
Yes.
test positive. They're already set up to go.
They are set up to go. We do have a little bit of a concern in our system that last week the process of obtaining those treatments changed. And so now those will be going through the state, and we're anticipating maybe some time that we won't be able to get as many as we want. And we will have a criteria set up to help us determine those that this would benefit the most.
Wayne, you got a question?
No, I was gonna ask, y'all want to do the antibody testing?
We do not do antibody testing at the health department.
That's blood.
Well,
Yes.
first, I want to thank you. I can't imagine the stress and the workload that, I guess I can't count that you and your staff are under. This morning, Commissioners, she has requested $63,000 from the federal grant money. Now, I want to stop right here and let everybody in the audience and the media and everyone paying attention. This money doesn't come directly from our pocket in a sense that it's a Brown County tax. This was grant money that was given to us to fight COVID. And that's where she's asking this to be funded from. And we have not just ours, but we have some other options. And Gary, y'all may remember, do we have any of the COVID, or the CARES Act money remaining, or did we disperse that for other things? All right, so, my ballot,
Just like up to 63,000.
well, we're talking about the
So what-
700,000 we got.
Yeah, no, we overspent the 700,000.
The, I believe we're sitting on about 1.8 million balance. That's just rounded estimate of the art first round funding of the art money, just to give you a notice. Even if we move forward with some of the requests, that would bring us down to about $400,000. So still there's enough in there to help the health department. And of course, their job is they're on the front line of fighting COVID. These are approximate figures. The city has already approved 77,000 out of their funding for this. She's asked 63 from us. Everybody who sits here, we are the only full-time representatives of the people of Brown County. We're elected countywide. And so we're on call 24/7. Our phone ring, we have to answer it. We don't, it's not weekends off and all. So ultimately, with regard to emergency management, and all the buck stops here with the commissioners. That's the bottom line. That's how the state sees it. We want to give you every single thing that you need to fight this blooded virus. I'm so sick of it. I can't see straight. Now I'm going to volunteer some health information, then we'll get on to the vote. For everybody out there listening, and I'm not speaking for the commissioners, but I believe I've talked to most of you. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We all are in wholehearted support of the individual choice whether to take the vaccination or not. It's your choice. It's your healthcare choice. Now, I'm going to share my personal healthcare as an information. I've had both shots, as you know, because of my open heart surgery. I was in a high risk category, and then I've also had the what are we calling that?
The booster vaccine.
The booster vaccine. I had 0 side effects, not a one. So, I encourage those of you who are on the fence or just haven't taken the time to get the shot. I took it. That's your choice, though, and we all can't respect that enough. And with that being said, I don't think anybody up here is in favor at all of any kind of employer mandates, but that's a whole nother vaccine. But that's a whole nother. This money will not be used for anything like that. I just want to guarantee everyone. So where we're at as of the figures you gave me this morning is based on our last census population. We've lost 1 in every 229 citizens in this county. We've had a death that they've attributed to COVID. Out of 38,100 residents, 1 in every 2. It's actually 230 if you round it up. That's high. That's high. Now I know we have a higher rate of senior citizens, and they're the ones that are affected the most. But please, tell us what you need so we can go out and get it for you. Please help us get this thing under control. I would still love to see, and I'm going to shut up, I would still love to see a drive-through vaccination over at the old Kroger where everybody sees it. And we'll if you need money for radio ads, if you need money for banners, tell us how we can help you get this darn thing, for lack of another word, under control.
So we have funding to do some of those things. It takes us staffing to get there and to facilitate them. And so we are working on that. We had interviews last week and this week. And then I did want to speak a little bit more to what we're doing with this clinic, and I want to put into perspective what we're asking and the total cost of the clinic. So when we started talking about this with Hendrick, it was because of some of the situations that you're speaking about, where we know of people that were seeking care and there just weren't enough appointments in a day, or there weren't enough supplies available for them to accomplish what needed to happen, testing and or treatment. So, and then we had Cliff Carnes picked up on part of this, and he really looked and seeked out other ways for us to fund this. And so we have in the works that we would be able to receive a grant that was for epidemiology and lab response. And so that if we receive that grant, it provides us a tremendous amount of funding, more than what you or the city have been asked to contribute. And so that grant would be a 13-month grant, and we've asked for $758,000. So what the grant would provide, and it's the same thing that we're asking you to provide, we're asking you to help us get started on this. It's for personnel, for supplies, for the office and setup. And then the majority of that funding that we were requesting from the grant and from y'all would be the testing ability. So realizing that we've talked about no fund or no cost testing for our citizens, and whenever I look at our budget, then that amount that we're requesting out of that $758,000 is over $600,000 for the testing. We're realizing that kits definitely are not free. In fact, they're more expensive than most lab tests. They're about around $45 a piece. So each person being tested, and you heard the number of new positives we had this week. Of course, more than that are testing. And so we're putting a tremendous amount of money into providing for those tests to occur. And so I think it's important for us to realize that. And so what we're asking that funding to be is for us to go ahead and get started before the grant is finalized. We feel like it's important enough to our community to not wait until we have everything in hand and then come back and ask for permission to sign the grants that we do with the city council. We feel like it's something that we want to start. We really would have liked to have started this Monday, but I think next Monday as a goal is something that is more realistic and reachable for us.
The 63,000 you've requested, is that based on the population that live outside?
It is based
Now,
on population.
as you understand, the city of Early is unable to help, so we're gonna need to cover that. So is that
Yes.
included in this 63,000?
That is included everything that is not Brownwood and County.
Is that a pay as we go? I mean, it's up to 63,000 what we're approving today, I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
You just made a statement, the city of Early is unable to help. What's that?
That they've chosen
I
not to.
heard, you said unable. Are they choosing not to, or,
When it was
What is
requested last time, they chose not to.
so,
Unwilling.
so they're just
I was trying to
turning.
be kind.
So the city of Early, what you're saying is the city of Early is just turning a cold shoulder or a blind shoulder or whatever and making those citizens in Early come to Brownwood or Brown County to get that treatment.
I met with.
Is that it?
Well, I wouldn't use those words, but I met with them out of concern when it wasn't approved, and they informed me that their council believed that it was the county's responsibility to provide that service. So I was trying to be kind when I said unable. There's no need to embarrass anyone, but no, they've chosen not to answer your question.
That's my question. They've chosen not to.
Yes, sir.
Well, the thing about it is we need to lick this thing. We can find all this out later.
And
I agree with you.
Joel.
And I also got vaccinated. I don't know if it should be required, but we got to remember how do we lick some of those other diseases from the past? Such terrible diseases was vaccinations. Not everybody believes in vaccinations now for whatever reason. Some of it's political. Go back and look at some history. Look at smallpox. Look at polio. Look at those. How did you whip those? You whipped them with vaccinations. So I know this is a political.
Researched and tested for years. Whatever.
Well, and they had some trouble a couple in rollout, but ultimately they won because of folks doing the vaccination. So I mean, I'm not asking requirement. I'm saying look at that and consider it. That's how they whipped some of these things in the past.
I'll tell you how passionate about I am, since this isn't coming directly out of, we all know about federal tax. Ultimately, everyone pays for a federal tax or mandate, but it's not coming out of Brown County directly. I'm even prepared to match the city of Brownwood, whatever you need to please get this thing under control.
And I feel like this is a big step for us to be able to do that. But as you have said earlier, this is something that each of us as individuals have to make the decision to, because I think the discussion that we're having now about people getting vaccinated is the way that we get through this. So whatever we can do to encourage people, but when we're open every day and we've had additional clinics and we have very few people showing up, in fact, we get more people in our clinic than we do whenever we have something that's outside the clinic.
Well, that's why I was thinking something that is super visible that people would come by and see and say, hey, you know what, I'll just pull in line here and get this done. volunteer.
And we certainly want to provide as many vaccines as we can with the health department. But our partners are in places that our citizens go every day.
Sure.
So, a majority or several of the grocery stores have vaccines available when you go and shop. So, but we will continue to do different things to make sure that we have vaccines available.
All right, I get the impression the commissioners are ready to move on. Let me ask you, is the 63,000 going to get it done for you? Or do you
I
need-
think for right now we are good because it should be able to partner with the 73,000, but certainly we are having other growing pains. We are in a place that is too small for the amount of staff that we're moving in there, honestly. So, those type of things would be appreciated if there is anything that could be done about those. So,
Maybe we can lick this before that, while we live in that pup tent. while we lick
Well, with
this.
that being said, I'm prepared to match the city of Brown 77. That, but you say 63 will get it done, then I'll make a motion. We approve the 63,000.
Yeah, I'll go with you on 63.
The health department has,
We'll take it as it comes.
very good. The health department has requested, with the stipulation that it come out of the ARC funding, since there's no CARES Act money remaining. So that's what that, I mean, we can use it on other things, but its primary purpose is to fight COVID. So I make that motion.
I'll second the up to 63,000 for this stage of the fight.
You'll let us know if it goes above or if you look like you're gonna need
Yes,
more. And that's you tell us what you need, our job is to find it for you. So, all right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Here. All right, all in favor? It passes unanimously, Lisa.
Listen, can I ask a question?
Sure.
yes, sir.
As it relates to testing,
Can you, sorry, buddy, maybe something very helpful if you pull your microphone.
well, it's just, you can go to Walgreens and it's free. You can go to CVS and it's free. You can go to Hendrix and it's free. I'm assuming that those places are billing some insurance for most of those.
Some of them are, yes.
I mean, not everybody has insurance, but
Correct.
a lot of people do. And so, well, it's free. And so, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out, we're spending a lot of money on
Yes.
testing through the health department
Yes.
when it's free from other sources. And I'm just wondering if is that a good use of that money?
I think at this time it is because we're stacking those testing facilities up where not everyone that needs a test gets a test. So I think that we're leaving people that are symptomatic at home, not ability to get treatment and never even officially diagnosed. And so that was like one of the concerns that Judge Willie passed on this weekend. And I spoke with the gentleman, and that was his story. We've heard hundreds more like that, and that's why we pursued this with Hendrick. As far as seeking billing from the health department, there's two things going on. Historically, health departments have not had the same billing ability as other health providers. And so, but some of that changed in this last legislative system, but that leaves us in a situation where we historically have not billed. We don't have all of our ducks in a row to be able to do that, but we did hire someone that is going to be assisting in that. So we had Sheila Davis move into a position that works with sustainability. And so she has already started making sure that we have all of those things in row so that we can at least attempt at getting some type of reimbursement for the services that we provide. What we've seen, we do bill for vaccines currently. And so what we end up getting is we get reimbursement from the administrative fee, which does not pay for the cost. It just helps to minimize that expense. I think that answered your question, Shane.
Yeah, I'm just repeating, so nobody laugh at me. Obviously, Biden promised that he was going to distribute test. That was part of his thing.
Yes.
Say that again, I couldn't hear you.
Biden, during the press conference, I don't know.
I don't care, I can't hear you, use it. We can't hear you.
Have y'all received anything about getting tests from the federal government or
No.
tests?
Then again, you remember the ARP money, or whatever it is, comes from the federal government, so I mean,
Well, I know, but
the individual specifically for that, no, probably not.
No, but what Shane's saying is,
they're supposed to be, the federal government is supposed to be providing either free
Right,
or
test.
at cost. I mean, we're paying $45, the county's paying $45 a test. I mean, that's high. I don't know how different that is from the ones you buy, you know, commercially.
Right, I mean, they're a higher level of test, more
Right.
accurate than like what you would buy at Walmart or
Right.
Walgreens, but,
And, and that to me sounds like that's high. $45 sounds like that
When
is
we-
very expensive for a test.
when we know that we have almost 400 positives, almost every week, then that becomes more expensive. I mean, of course, not near though, many of those went through the health department, not at this time. But I think there are some, we have a stock of testing supplies that we'll be using, but right now when we look to order, there's not a huge stock of us to be able to purchase after that. So, but we know that it's far enough out that hopefully that won't be a problem.
Weren't we originally getting them free last year?
So originally, we bought some test kits and some the
So-
machines to be able to do that.
So all we get
Early
free
on.
is the actual vaccination.
We get some antigen tests came free from, we got through Star Request. But now as we're doing Star Request, we're not getting the response that we did at the first. And we get whatever test they have available.
If they have the tests you need, the ones they had are free. So they may not be the ones that are
Right.
Thank you.
current and accurate or quick.
Thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate you. Is Carl here, Stephanie? Or are you doing that one or what? I don't understand. I didn't see that one on the agenda. Is there anybody here from maintenance? Well, in case the commissioners have questions, I'll come back to that one. All right, so, I'm gonna go to item number 8. H is in Henry. Is Bob in here?
Yeah.
Been in and out, in and out.
I need to solve.
He's out.
I need all the payroll sheets too. Oh. What do you mean?
All right, well, instead of having downtime, let's use the time usefully. I'm gonna go back up to item number 6, consideration approval of any treasurer or auditor's reports. Do we have any?
No.
So there'll be no action on item number 6. Item number 7, since we got some downtime, let's go ahead and take that. Consideration approval, payment of any bills. If you need time to read them while they're gone to get the next speakers, it'd be a good time to do that. We're not ready yet.
Carl said they'll be right here.
Thank you, Bill. Still reaching.
Still,
All right, he's ready, so,
I make a motion to pay the bills as presented by the auditor.
okay, we have a motion to pay the bills, do we have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second, did you get that? Motion from,
Motion
motion
Pay the
from
bills.
Commissioner Kelton and a second,
to pay the bills as presented by the auditor.
and seconded by Commissioner Shaw. Do we have any further discussion on bills? All in favor? Carries unanimously. Item number 8E is an Edward Carl with our maintenance supervisor, consideration possible approval of action regarding declaring office supplies surplus and sell on Gov Deals. Come on up, Carl. I know you're busy, but we needed you here in case the commissioners have questions.
That's fine. Morning.
Morning.
I've got 2 storage buildings full of old desks, chairs, and when somebody gets a new chair, I've run out of places to put for a new desk. So I'd like to get those items put them as surplus. So,
Do you have a list compiled?
no, I don't have a list.
That's-
I had Valerie go take pictures of everybody.
Individual pictures of each item.
Not all of them together, they're individual pictures.
They're in, yeah.
to be able to place them on for sale. But we do need a list to go with the minutes stating what each item is. I'll be glad to put that motion forward, but with the
Okay, Valerie, let's go.
exception that you provide a list. Sure.
We have a motion from Commissioner Worley to approve this with the stipulation that before anything goes up for sale, we have you deliver to the auditor a list.
We're talking 50 items, 100 items, 30 items, 20 items?
What now?
You're talking 50, 100? How many items do you have, probably?
I would say 30 to 50.
If Valerie's got individual pictures, she can
Just make a list.
make a list.
She's the one that actually does.
And that'll be fine.
I would second that, then.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is the
Yes.
motion okay here? Where you have it? All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? How much are we paying a month on these these 2
I'm not
stores?
sure I'd have to.
I'm looking at saving money. We can clear those out. All right,
We've
so,
got 3 storage buildings total. Right over here, we have our lawnmowers and stuff. And then the others,
It's not gonna matter, you're not gonna get rid of one of them anyway.
okay, motion on the floor, no further discussion. All in favor? Passes. Thank you, Carl.
thank y'all.
Item number 8, H is in Henry, is Bob Contreras. He is our grants coordinator. Consideration of possible approval of action regarding accepting and designating distribution of unclaimed capital credits. You got more than one item, but let's do that one because I have to read each one in.
Sure.
So unclaimed capital credits is what you're.
Okay, so this year we received $6,097.29 from the comptroller for unclaimed capital credits, and it's been the court's priorities in the past to take care of children, feed families, and so in keeping with that, and to support the nonprofits to do that. So out of that $6,097, my recommendation is $750 each to the ARC, the Children's Advocacy Center, the Brown County Certified Local Government, which y'all passed a few years ago. It's no money out of the normal budget, but this would train them for the year. And then CASA. And then $3,097.29 to the Brown County Museum of History, which is in dire financial straits, and it's a county entity that does not. But of course, that's all up to you, gentlemen.
That's your recommendation.
Get this one.
These are capital credits, money that we got back.
That's correct. This is unclaimed capital credits come from people who don't collect their utility deposits, and that money goes to the state government. The state government designates a very, very tiny portion to get back to us.
You have one copy of that list you just read,
Of this list, does,
whatever you just
yeah,
read
no,
out.
I can get you a copy, yes, sir.
Well,
So we can rate it as a motion.
Okay. You can have
Josie
that.
needs one, Sharon needs one to go in the minutes. There's always need more than one copy of
Who is the
something.
Brown County CLG?
Ma'am?
Who is the Brown County CLG?
Certified local government, it's the Lappies and Dr. Mangren, who is our historical officer, historical preservation officer.
Is that most of the historical committee? Historical commission?
No, he's the historical preservation, yes, it's a part of that,
Right,
yes.
and remember, a few years ago, in order to collect these, we had to establish that.
It had to be a qualified, he was a gentleman that was qualified for that.
But they have expenditures. No, not the historical commission. He's talking about something totally
Something
different than
different.
the
Yeah, talking
historical
about the
commission.
certified local.
We have to be a certified local government in order to apply for grants through this program. But I mean, there aren't any, they don't spend money, do they?
Well, they have to get trained. They have annual training and it tells them what grants are available. And we haven't given them any money for that, and we shouldn't, but this is a good use for that. And it's just a portion of
It's kind of a look through here, who looks like they could, and it sounds like a fair assessment to me of where to spend that money to distribute it out. Maybe there's other ways to do it, but it sounds fair to me.
Yeah, this, well, the certified local government, once they get trained up and rolling, they will be able to get some significant grants for the county to improve tourism and the certification itself covers all the entities in our county. So if Early or Brownwood or anybody else wanted to apply, some of the grants say you must be a certified local government to apply, and they'd have to coordinate with the county to apply.
Well, I like his recommendation as well. I mean, he deals with these people weekly or monthly. He knows the needs. I know the museum is in very dire straits because being as closed as long as they were. So, as a matter of fact, I've had a video conference with their director as well, and he presented me with the data as to how bleak it looks. So that would surely help. And to help the commissioners understand, there's only certain things we can use this money for, correct?
What's that, sir?
The capital credits that
Yes,
it has restrictions on what we're
Right,
going to
there
use.
are eight areas, and unless we want to improve the city's tourism, and that sort of thing, nonprofits is the primary thing. Nonprofits in serving children and literacy.
So you made a motion? Or you
Well,
want-
I don't have that list, but I would make the motion to move forward with that.
I will get you all a copy of this list.
So we have a motion. I assume what you're saying is to approve the distribution of
Is this-
capital credits money.
As recommended by this letter from Bob.
Okay. Bob Contreras, our grants coordinator. Do I have a second? Commissioner Shaw makes a second. Any further discussion? Karen, you're looking hard to talk. All right, all in favor? Okay, that passes, Bob. Thank you. All right, next, Bob is up here. Item number 8, G is in George. Consideration and possible approval of action regarding adoption of the opioid settlement. I mentioned this to you last week, but Bob will explain more to you. And Shane also has been involved in some of the discussions for this. He can answer your questions as well.
So first of all, you have a resolution to consider the opioid settlement. And what that really means is that opioid producers and distributors have maybe acted improperly and are getting sued by counties and cities and different states. So the Texas Attorney General sent some folks out here, met the judge and me, and told us that if we, in Texas, that they're having this settlement, and if counties sign on to the settlement, then you agree not to sue these opioid distributors and producers individually. Is that correct? That's correct, County Attorney. So in return for that, we would receive $236,000. They said over the next 9 to 18 years, but the way it's structured is, this part of this money is already in the bank. $188,000 would come to Brown County next April, and then after that, 10% per year. The thing is that only one manufacturer, Johnson & Johnson, whose subsidiary is Janssen, they're the producer who signed on. Then there's 4 or 5 distributors. As time goes on, and January 2nd is the deadline for us to get on board with this. As more producers and more distributors sign on to this agreement, our end of this is going to grow exponentially. So we only have one big producer on right now, and we have 4 or 5 distributors. So they've already put the money aside, and if you all sign this, you will get the $188,000 in April. But as time goes on, up until January 2nd, more and more folks are going to sign on the bandwagon and our end would be much larger than that. Now, this money will be earmarked for medical care, mental health, or law enforcement relating to the opioid crisis. It could be training, it could be new vehicles, transferring people, it could be education. We could even do an education program for kids. Many different ways. Basically, medical care, mental health, and law enforcement. So
That decision doesn't have to be made today though, right?
sir?
That decision doesn't have to be made today, just whether or not to accept to join the,
No, it does not. But if you're not on it by January 2nd, then you will be excluded.
And he was, Commissioner Kelton was asking about committing to what we're gonna spend it on.
Oh,
No, we don't decide what we're gonna spend it on until after April.
you as county attorney, would you individually try to sue these opioid companies or would you rather do this? I
What
mean,
do you recommend?
Yeah, we would never engage in any individual litigation.
It'll cost too much.
Yeah.
So what do you recommend we do, Shane?
That we approve this resolution.
Okay, so each of you has copies of everything and the addendum, Appendix K, I believe it's called. So the judge has the form where everyone has to sign on the same resolution, and then only the judge needs to sign the appendixes, but it's all there for your information.
Yeah, if you approve this, there's a signature page for everything.
Could you read the resolution, Bob?
It has to be read in the.
Put it in the minutes.
Do you have the
Oh, what, did
resolution?
you ask, did he, or?
Be it remembered at a regular meeting of the Commissioners Court of Brown County, Texas, held on the 20th day of September 2021, on a motion made by and seconded by, the following resolution was adopted. Whereas Brown County obtained information indicating that certain drug companies and their corporate affiliates, parents, subsidiaries, and such other defendants as may be added to the litigation collectively defendants have engaged in fraudulent and or reckless marketing and or distribution of opioids that have resulted in addictions and overdoses. And whereas these actions, conduct and misconduct, have resulted in significant financial costs to the county. Whereas on May 13th, 2020, the state of Texas, through the Office of the Attorney General and a negotiation group for Texas political subdivisions, entered into an agreement entitled Texas Opioid Abatement Fund Council and Settlement Allocation Term Sheet, hereafter the Texas Term Sheet, approving the allocation of any and all opioid settlements within the state of Texas. The Texas Term Sheet is attached hereto as Exhibit A, and whereas special counsel in the state of Texas have recommended that the Brown County Commissioners Court support the adoption and approval of the Texas Term Sheet in its entirety, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Brown County, support the adoption and approval of the Texas Term in its entirety, and two, finds as follows. There's a substantial need for repayment of opioid-related expenditures and payment to abate opioid-related harms in and about Brown County, and the Commissioners Court supports in its entirety and hereby adopts the allocation method for opioid settlements proceeds as set forth in the state of Texas and Texas Political Subdivisions Opioid Abatement Fund Council and Settlement Application Term Sheet attached hereto as Exhibit A. The County Commissioners Court understands that the purpose of this Texas Term Sheet is to permit collaboration between the state of Texas and political subdivisions to explore and potentially effectuate resolution of the opioid litigation against pharmaceutical supply chain participants as defined therein. We also understand that an additional purpose is to create an effective means of distributing any potential settlement funds obtained under this Texas Term Sheet between the state of Texas and political subdivisions in a manner and means that would promote an effective and meaningful use of the funds in abating the opioid epidemic in this county and throughout Texas, done in open court on this 20th day of September 2021. And then the signatories will be the county judge and precinct 1, 2, 3, and 4 commissioners.
And is the entire resolution now read into the record? What would you like?
I move we adopt this resolution on the opioids settlement.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Bob, I didn't get the front page back. Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion on adopting this resolution and buying into this program or signing up for this program? Doesn't cost us. All right. All in favor? It passes unanimously. I'll just send it to Gary and let him start. That way nobody gets missed.
I'm starting.
Well, this is 2 pages with already one from that, so.
Okay,
uh,
I'll fill it in.
That's for individual precincts, and the top it says, that doesn't make sense.
Who made the motion.
There you go. I do now, I see.
Yeah, but hang around. You don't have to stand up here, but hang around. You just stay in the audience. Here you go, Mike. I think the front page is all required here. Signature. You can send that to Shane. I'm sure he needs a copy, and county clerk will keep the original. Okay, with that, item number F, 8F is in Frank, is something I put on. I need some direction from the commissioners. It reads consideration approval of setting a starting salary for coordinator of grants and government affairs. Before we go any further, I ask you to stay in the room. Some of you may not know today is Bob's last day with the county. He is going back to teach public school. So we wish him the best. I just want to give you a rundown. Oh, he stepped outside.
There he is.
There he is. So, Bob, we're talking about today's your last day with the county, that you're going back to teach public school. When we created Bob's position, which is what I need guidance on, I took money from my existing budget almost 3 years ago with the court's approval and created our grants and government affairs coordinator. Since that time, Bob has has helped us receive $488,191.21 in state and federal grants. That does not include the CARES and ARP funding, which, although every county was designated to receive it, we still had to apply for it. We had to meet all the guidelines, and there were a lot of them. With that number climbs to $8.5 million. Wow. That he coordinated for us. Now, some of those grants, some of the 488,000 he went out and found for us. Some of the others were told us, here, apply for this if you want it. But somebody had to do all the legwork, and he did it. Today's his last meeting. I'm going to ask everybody in the audience, we wouldn't be where we are without him coordinating that. Can we give him a round of applause? Yeah. Bob was set to go full-time in a week and a half. The commissioners approved it. So it's in the budget. However, I don't want to start somebody where Bob is leaving at. Obviously, we're not doing that. Bob's salary was set to be $34,000 October 1st. There is, this was a new position with Bob. There is no starting salary designated for it. So I need to find someone that can, nobody can fill your shoes, Bob, but someone that can pick up and carry on. So I need to know what the pleasure of the commissioners are. What do you want me to pay this person, so I can advertise and I put the word out already, but everybody wants to know what the salary is going to be. Well, I don't know. That's up to y'all. So what's your pleasure? I'll go along with whatever y'all decide and approve.
I'm not sure. depends on what their capabilities are and what they're actually gonna do.
I mean, we can start it at the entry-level clerk, or you can go a little higher than that if you
I
want.
don't think it needs to be a full-time position. I think it needs to start out as a part-time position.
That's how
I
we
see all the
started this.
work and I see the number of people who come in the door every day asking for him when his hours are done and he's gone. I think it easily justifies full-time, especially the return, almost $500,000 on an investment of a salary of under 30,000 a year. But here's going to be the problem, commissioners, and I'll do whatever you want. We don't pay well as it is. And a lot of people work for the county because of the benefits that we offer. So if we make it part-time and there's no benefits, I don't know that I'm going to be able to fill it. I mean, y'all are going to be doing all this grant legwork on your own like it used to be, where you and your road crew, your foreman had to keep up with all of this. I recommend, it's like your accountant. Pay your accountant well, if that's the man bringing you in money.
Well, let me point out that Bob didn't need insurance, as I remember,
That's right.
because that wasn't an issue with Bob. There's one reason we were able to do that, but not everybody. It's going to depend on. It's going to depend.
And Bob is retired from from the state and from the U.S. Army. He did this basically out of the kindness of his heart. The paycheck didn't mean a lot to him, and he didn't need the benefits. That's not going to be the case with the next person, I'm quite certain. So that's what I just need guidance from the commissioners. Tell me what you would like to do. If you want to set it at 30, that's 4,000 below what was budgeted this year in my budget. That would still give you a surplus. Just tell me what you'd like to do, so I can move forward. And Bob, no matter what they set it at today, it's not a reflection on the work you've done. We cannot begin to thank you enough. We're going to miss you dearly.
You didn't get any interest in the job?
I've got about 4 or 5 resumes, but everybody needs to know what it's going to pay.
Yeah, of course.
There's some qualified applicants
Let's
that
just table that deal. Maybe Larry gets back and we can all together and kick it around a little more.
I mean, if we're going to go full-time, we might do it with a starting clerk salary, just for a starting place. If it's going to be part-time, we'll see what's out there.
I'm okay with whatever y'all decide. I just
I mean,
need
if we're
to
just
know.
throwing, we're just throwing ideas out there. I don't know. It depends on what your qualifications are, what they're actually going to be doing.
I just need to know what you want to do. He said maybe started at the clerk salary, which is well below what's budgeted. I'm okay with that. I just need to know what you want to do.
If you did full-time, is everybody that's making that, they all talking full-time?
Yes, I hadn't had anybody interested in part-time. As you know, there's businesses all over the county can't get people to work.
That's right. American people, so you need somebody that has experience and say some grant right here.
Well, and somebody that has contacts throughout the county that can just pick up the phone and call this person by first name. That's what I'm looking for. So, but in order to do that, I gotta know what I can tell them to expect.
You kind of have somebody in mind?
No, I've got 6 applicants, but I haven't interviewed anybody.
Let's just.
It's because I just need.
At 10 to be 30,000 benefits if needed, or,
Starting clerk is 27,000.
okay, 27, yeah, I didn't know what.
I can tell you it's hard to hire people at that because
Oh, yeah.
Cheryl and Christine, we do that all the time and it's very hard to hire anybody at that.
Well,
But that's just what it is. Unless you're a court coordinator or something, clerks don't make much.
We're working on that, I promise.
what the judge says is correct, though. And this person right here could be worth their weight in gold if they actually come in here and do the job and do the job on this thing. So they're actually the kind of person that's going to create revenue for you.
Yeah, I mean, again,
If not properly. So.
yeah, you have a question?
Yeah, just a recommendation, because that position that Bob held, again, as you know, can bring in a lot of revenue, but you gotta have somebody who knows what they're doing. And so maybe one of the things is having another component of the pay based on performance. So it's an incentive to them to reach certain levels that you guys set, maybe kind of get Bob's?
I'm not sure we can do that with government funds.
Okay.
So, well, private practice we could, but I don't, Shane, am I correct? We can't do that with public money. It's an excellent idea, but
Okay.
And for grant writers, they get good commission.
right.
Well, like I said, we may bring somebody, they may bring us, they may come show us some stuff they've done and said, show me a deal.
I mean, if y'all just set it and I can see who, like fishing, I can see who bites. But I can't do anything until I at least, if I can't find anybody for what we said it in, I'll come back to you and say, yeah, I'm unable to find anyone. What do you want to do?
Well, I don't know, I kind of agree that it's done properly, it's very worthwhile.
Well, yeah, again, $488,000 in 2 years and 8 months. That's not including ARP and all that related to COVID. That's a good return for our money. But,
So, that was Gary's suggestion. I would at least agree to that, at least, maybe more. It's going to depend on the applicant and their.
so what was the suggestion?
His suggestion was a starting salary of the clerk's 27. I would say it'd be worth more than that, but I'd like to see, before I'd say yes, I'd kind of like to see their resume. I'd like to see what they've seen.
Depending on the qualification, like I say, we don't need somebody coming here. Can't do it.
No, I understand. All right, so I'm hearing that we want to set it at starting clerk, but if I find someone that
Show me some history on this person.
exceeds the qualifications, then I can bring them back to you and see what you want to do. Is that all right?
Yeah, because if you got somebody starting out, they don't have any past what they actually can do, it's going to be hard to say that. If you show me what they've done in the past and they've done an excellent job, brought lots of money regularly, that might change my mind.
That's something that can benefit us.
Like
I
I said,
know my precinct's benefit.
Well, again, we're budgeted up to 34, so you're 7,000 or just short of 7,000, not on 27 and some change, under what our balanced budget is
I don't
approved.
look at it as a clerk's job anyway.
I don't either. It's not, no disrespect, it's not
It's a job that can potentially create a lot of revenue, which is what most other jobs will not create. Very few create revenue.
well, could I ask that we set it
Ticket writer.
at 30, and that's still a $4,000 cushion. Would everybody be okay with that? I mean, it's $2,500 difference isn't gonna break us.
That sounds good to me.
I mean, we're actually, we're just a tentative idea, we want to vote.
I need a motion to go forward.
I don't think you need a motion.
Well, I gotta have a motion to set the pay, because
Not yet, you don't.
it's, well, then we're not gonna get any applicants, Commissioner Worley. Everybody wants to know what the pay is gonna be.
I mean, you can.
What
I'll
I'm
make a
saying
motion.
is you don't need a
Tell them how much
motion
it
to
pays.
set pay yet. You need some direction, and the court is saying that they'll agree to up to 30,000 at this point. And when you come back with someone, that is the time when you get set the salary.
Well,
That's when you need the motion.
what I would like to do, with respect to everybody here, and respect to how we've started to other people, I don't wanna come back and ask you to give them more than what you've approved here. Whatever you recommend here is what I'm gonna pay. Y'all just tell me what that number is. I don't wanna come back to you and ask for more than what was, cause we turn department heads down every day to do that.
Every day.
So I don't wanna be in that position.
Only once a week, not every day.
I don't wanna be in that
Let me
position.
say that I'm open. I think this is a special situation because of the potential revenue. I don't call it the normal everyday. None of it's normal every day, but I'm gonna be a little more open-minded, but I want to see what you got. But I would say up to 30 at least, whatever. Let's see what we bring. I mean, I'll be behind you on this one if we find the right person.
You don't need a motion until you got someone put in.
Well, the position actually works for the judge. The judge's, the original money for that came out of my budget, and it has each year since. So it would be a personnel hire. So that's why I was gonna hire someone and then come back like everybody else does, which is kind of passive because we really have no control over what an elected official does. Even though we ceremoniously recruit their salaries, unless they're asking for a salary above what the minimum set is, we really don't have to say it. So that's what I'm asking for is please set the minimum salary and then I can go out and select someone. And I'm gonna get the best bang for the buck because I know what the position means to everybody.
I'll be glad to work with you on this and let's see what we come up with. Can we leave it at that? I mean, I'll support you if I think it's a good deal. I'll help.
And you're telling 30,000.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say 30,000 is not an unreasonable starting place to start with.
Okay, Shane, do I have to have that in a motion? How does this carry?
No, you do not have a motion. Just when you hire them, you bring them back and they approve the hire.
Okay, but can I legally say, because there's been no vote here, can I legally say that, 30,000 is what the commissioners agreed to?
Sure.
I didn't think I was permitted to do that since, we haven't formally agreed to it. We're all sitting in a designated meeting. I didn't think I would be allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll work it out.
All right, so we'll take no action on item number 8F. Item number 9 then is commissioners' comments. If anybody has anything, I'll go around the room. Commissioner, thank you, Bob. Commissioner Ward, Shaw? I'm good. I don't have anything.
I can't think of any to talk about.
Commissioner Ward?
Nope.
Any of the staff, Daryl? Ladies, y'all have anything you need to add or say?
I can.
Absolutely. It's our tax assessor collector. Come on up. I have to identify you for the record. Yes, ma'am.
I just,
You state your name.
Christine Pentecost. There's been lots of discussion about salary today. And in regard to the JP's office, they're shuffling of salaries after budget time. And I just have to say that year after year after year, county clerk, district clerk, myself have spent lots of time and effort to align our budgets and move our girls into a position where they can make more than a starting person. We had that discussion in their budget time. We requested, we can ask for addition to make it possible to make, if we have to do a name change to get our clerks to be able to have a step salary. But nobody showed interest in that. No one has, nothing happened.
I can tell you that one of my agendas for 2022 is to put that commission together. We just didn't have time to do it before this fiscal
That's
year.
great, but what I'm saying is, what happened today is the total opposite of what we were told during budget. We have, even before budget, when we've had not adjusting our salary, we spent time and effort in putting our girls at different levels with no extra cost to our budget, within our budget, just like they did. And it's never been correct. And I just think, I want it to be known for the record that is not right. What is good for one office is good for every office. And starting salaries are starting salaries. If I have an experienced clerk come from another county, if they worked 15 years in that county and knew more than everyone in that office, they would start at starting salary of $27,000.
I agree, that's it.
And I appreciate what y'all do, because I know it's hard to budget for an entire county. But when we sit in meetings, year after year after year, trying very hard, like everyone else does, to manage our budgets, to be within the limits, I'm not begrudging anyone having a pay raise, but what I'm saying is what's right for one is right for all.
I agree.
So I just want that to be out there.
And again, I'm of the position, and I glance over at the county attorney doing.
You did have one proponent, and it was me.
Yes,
I helped you
I know that,
through there.
I'm not
Rest
saying
of the court.
they're not worth it. I'm not saying
I
no.
understand.
but what I'm saying is just as in the JP's office, they got shuffled up to whoever's salary was up.
One girl's been there maybe a year. I've got one there that's been 20 years and probably is gonna make what that one makes.
We need I agree, we need a structured system for this, because somebody with 30 years retired and they step somebody else and they want to give them their salary.
We have 6, they have 2. We get that. But fair's fair.
And again, for the
You
public,
do it, Joel.
I don't say we need to figure out.
We're under commissioners' comments. I am going to put together that commission that we talked about. I just didn't have time to do it before this year's fiscal. And I will tell you this, I'm not speaking for anybody else on this board, but I'm of the opinion, like most counties, where we set a budget and then what the elected official does with the money we give them is up to that elected official.
But that's not how it's.
I understand. I'm just saying that's my position, but.
Well, you're one person.
And I'm not speaking for another soul, I'm just speaking for me.
What I've always said about the sheriff department, they got their own budget, and every time they gotta do something, they gotta come here and ask us. But
Well, we try, that we come in at budget time. We don't come in at any other time, but it happens all the time because
And the budget's already been adopted.
Yes.
That's what's kind of confusing, is the budget's already been adopted, and then they come up with this, and it's nothing on the latest, nothing at all. But it's confusing to me that the budget's been adopted, and then we're already amended it a week later. Something's wrong with that picture in my opinion.
Well, and I've come in the past where I've had an employee leave, and I've asked to keep that money in my budget and allot it to the people, who have been there longer and have senior authority and, to try to help. And it's been denied every single time, and I've done it 3 times. So,
And that's always been mine.
yeah.
My thing, I'm
Somebody said
I'm trying to be that way, but it's not consistent. Like I said, and we've let those people jump through the deal.
big consistency.
But then just because somebody's been there 30 years leaves and you got some new person, I don't know why that automatically means you take that. I mean, that's where you sometimes get.
You did it with Charlie's money today.
We did.
You took her extra that she made and gave it to the other.
But I don't know that I really agree. I still don't know if I feel, even though we did,
But
I'm
you
not sure.
voted for it.
I don't know that that's still the right answer to all this stuff.
It's not, but I don't know what the
But,
right answer
but
is.
just automatically dividing somebody's salary up that's been there for a long term, to me, just dividing up among the others, to me, doesn't seem like the right answer.
But you voted for it today, everybody. I mean,
Well,
I'm just saying.
well, we stipulated that their starting person has to come in at the minute, so it was a compromise. And I agree, it was a wash
It's on who's
because
standing there, I think.
it's a wash because your money, it doesn't affect the bottom line of your budget. So again, maybe we can iron this out. We can't do it today, but over the next year, we can iron it out where your money, once we set it, what you do with it is up to you. That's what I would like to see.
I wanted to be noted that today, what happened
You guys know,
today
just know.
Yes, ma'am.
did not go by.
Well,
We could augment the budget in our budget now, take what's left over in our supplies that we don't know, use, and then spread it out. What's the difference?
Well, as long as it doesn't, as
Well,
long as Shane, correct me if I'm wrong.
It wouldn't be more than.
Hang on, let me speak. Shane, correct me if I'm wrong, as long as it comes out of the salary line item, what we've approved, what they do with that in that fiscal year is their business, is it not?
But sometimes that doesn't come out salary line item.
Well, if it's a budget transfer, that's different. If it's a line item transfer, the court has to approve that. But if it comes out of an excess fund that you had in there, now we can't guarantee you that it's gonna be funded at that salary the next year.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong.
The way y'all budget, and I've never liked it, and I've always been opposed to it, but the way y'all budget, that's not true. You don't have discretion to do that. If in the future y'all want to give them that discretion, you can, but you've never given them, not in the 20 years I've been here.
Well, I know we haven't, but
Yeah.
as far as what I can see on case law, it's, as an elected official, we just set their yearly operating budget. And what they do with that money is between them and the voters.
I don't know what case law you're referencing. But no, that's not how y'all do it.
I didn't say that's how we do it, I was saying, yeah. Anyway, it's duly noted, ma'am.
And there's a step
Well,
system.
and please know that we don't begrudge anybody. That's not our.
I'm happy for them.
We're thrilled, we think everybody should be compensated as such.
It's just when the word gets out to our girls, they say, wow.
Yeah, they don't feel that, and they've been very loyal.
We're just doing what
I
we
know
said.
each one of these ladies has come and presented somewhat similar or the same scenario that we have approved today and before.
Well, we approved Christine's last time. She she did too. She got to divide that money up. She did. She did.
I did present that.
She did get it. She did
Like I
get it.
said,
Is
The
everybody?
teachers are on a step. It
And
don't
we
matter
do-
about other teachers, but they're on a step.
And that's what I'm gonna put this commission together with permission of the court, and the court will appoint who's on it. This year, we're going to tackle that, I promise. And the other thing we're gonna tackle is getting a decent living wage for this day and time for your clerks, I promise. Now, I'm not sure how we're gonna find the money to do that, but we don't know until we try. And that is my goal for next year, this next operating year. Any other commissioners have any other comment? All right, what do y'all want to meet again? The 20th? Is that, or I'm sorry, the 27th? Is that what we need? That's a, right?
We have bills that we need to get. so we can give it time.
Unless y'all have something that's specific that we can.
They wouldn't get them out that route
I
anyway.
think the bills board,
I'm sorry, Sharon?
I think the bills board did approve.
Okay, so,
No, I'm talking about for next
Oh,
week.
Next week, okay.
Sorry.
so the 4th of October?
Yes.
4th of October, is everybody okay with the 4th of October? Okay, we'll have a meeting on the 4th of October again, same time and place.
Next week.
Till then, I declare us adjourned.
We'll meet next week.
I need Bob